Hello, and welcome to the first edition of UMass Dartmouth Magazine. My name is Randy Helm, and I'm the Chancellor of UMass Dartmouth, a 9,000 student research university that serves as a powerful catalyst for economic, cultural, and social growth here in the South Coast region. I want to thank Dartmouth Community Television for making UMass Dartmouth Magazine possible. Our goal is to share some of the interesting activities, ideas, and people that distinguish UMass Dartmouth and make it such a valuable asset to this community, to the Commonwealth, to the nation, and to the world. So we're pleased to be starting off today by welcoming Dr. Brian Howes, who runs the Coastal Systems Lab at our School for Marine Science and Technology. And we're also happy to be joined by Jen Benson, who earned her undergraduate and her graduate degrees from UMass Dartmouth, her graduate degree from SMAST, and she's now working in Brian's lab. But before we start the conversation, let's watch this video.
The entire climate debate can be ignored to some extent because this is happening and you can see it. It's happening, prepare for it. Stop arguing about it. This part of climate change is happening. Most of the things that we do are focused on saving communities valuable resources and money because they have a lot of things competing for their funds. And so they can't go throwing $100 million someplace else. And that has been the focus of our entire Estuarine project for the last 20 years, is trying to work with communities to find innovative, cheaper solutions. What we deal with more is what can we see, and then what can we project would be the case. So we're interested in shoreline change. So we look at shoreline change mainly as it affects estuarine health. And as the sea levels go up, the freshwater levels go up. Nobody notices it because they change up and down a lot due to droughts and all that. They're slowly going up, and then that has effects on wastewater treatment, on drinking water supplies, on all those things. So we're looking at some of those. Our wetland part of sea level rise is much closer to my heart, which has to do with the survival and persistence of wetlands. And the hope there is that we're going to be able to come up with innovative solutions to not having the salt marshes drowned. If the sea level rises too fast, then the plants will eventually be underwater too long and they literally drown. And then you lose your marsh. And that's a real problem. That bothers me more than shoreline retreat or things like that. And I think that's critical because it affects so many aspects of the coastal system, and it affects economics, but it affects fisheries. And we're big on fisheries around here, and so is New Bedford, so that's particularly important. But wetlands in and of themselves are inherently have a whole large number of positives that they give us for free. And if we lose them, then we'll have to start paying for those things.
Brian, you and your lab are clearly doing important work. How did you get started in this field, and why are you so committed to it?
Well, at a very young age, it was for me, it was the space program was going on, JFK's, we're going to go to the moon program, and we're going to get into outer space. And so everybody sort of had their different interests, but at that point in time, I really got engaged and wanted to be a scientist of some type. And as I went through my high school and then my undergraduate training, I got an internship working in the marine environment. And from that, I decided, yeah, this works for me, and that's what I want to do. So it's a curiosity-driven thing at that point. But then after I got my graduate degree, I was at Woods Hole for about 20 years. And after I moved through 20 years of basic research where you're studying how things work, new ways to measure things, is there a problem? And you could do all that. You could get to the is there a problem part, but as soon as you went to the next step of what's the solution, that's not basic research anymore. And so sort of like the choke collar came on and you had to stop. So when SMAST was formed, it was originally CMAST, the Center for Marine Science and Technology. In 1997, I was invited then, when they just opened the new doors in New Bedford, Brian Rothschild brought me in to set up the Coastal Systems program and to then take it that next step. And I had some very deep conversations with him about that this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to do the applied part. Now, the applied part is really the sort of where we are now in this field. The field is not so much basic research anymore. Anyway, the field has evolved into solutions and restorations. And what I'm working on is salt marshes, lakes and ponds, their health, and our coastal environment and estuaries, and what is going on there. And what we have discovered, starting in '87, NOAA hired us to see if we could come up with some tools to do this. And from working out of that, it came up with how would you go and do large-scale analysis so that you could do science-based management. And so for the last 20 years I've been at UMass Dartmouth, the program's evolved, but we have been pretty much focused on science-based management, and we've completed analysis of 70 estuaries in the region for setting targets for restoration. We're doing wetlands restoration. We're doing wetlands restoration right here in Dartmouth. Nonquit Marsh has been restored, and we're monitoring that program. And we set management plans, like we did the baseline science for Allen's Pond in Dartmouth, and for Pontigansett Bay in Dartmouth, and Slocum's River and Little River, just in Dartmouth, but throughout this region. And in fact, we're now getting calls from other places in the United States, either in New Hampshire or Florida, where we're also doing the same thing, because the problems of the degradation of our coastal waters are common to any area that has high population and shallow water. And so our expertise we've developed here at UMass Dartmouth and in Massachusetts now is in demand actually around the world. We've been actually around the world, in the Caribbean and in Europe as well, but now we're focusing really on sort of fixing Massachusetts. This is UMass Dartmouth, is UMass Dartmouth, so we're focusing our efforts mainly on fixing Massachusetts first.
Yeah. Well, and you know, it strikes me that this is so in line with what I've encountered during my time at UMass Dartmouth, which is we do wonderful research, but it is research in service to the community and to society. It isn't, you know, it isn't so esoteric that people can't imagine what the point of it is. That your research really is something that benefits the community. I think that's really an admirable quality in UMass Dartmouth.
We're trying to attract students too, graduate students mainly, but also undergraduates. We have an internship program that's had around 150 undergraduates paid internship in the summer at SMAST. But we're trying to attract students that will take this information and carry it to the next generation. We need a new generation of people that understand the state-of-the-art methods that can steward these environments to restoration. And it's not really restoration for grandchildren, great-grandchildren, it's for us, because restoration can be very quick. But we need that new generation, and right now there's a gap. There's not enough young, talented scientists like Jen coming along to fill that void at this point.
Well, speaking of Jen, I know I've been a professor. There can't be anything much more exciting than having one of your students succeed, make a difference in the world, and do path-breaking research. So Jen is one of your students, and before we turn to talking to Jen, I want to show this brief video.
Human development is endangering our coastlines. If the water quality is poor, the eelgrass will die off. I want to give it a jump start to then reestablish itself. It's almost like being an underwater gardener. If you get the eelgrass to grow, that will produce a chain reaction for fish and shellfish and healthy, clean, clear water quality. I'm still a student, I'm still learning, but every day I feel more and more confident. Today could be the day that I have some sort of breakthrough.
Now, Jen, the video shows that your expertise is related to eelgrass. That sounds extremely slimy to me. I'm not saying you're slimy, but the subject of eelgrass, it sounds like something I wouldn't want to get too close to. So tell us why eelgrass is important, why you're interested in it, and what's its usefulness for coastal habitats.
Well, just to start off, eels do hang out in eelgrass, so you might find a slimy critter while you're doing some research under that. But eelgrass is like the coral reef of the temperate zone. It's an area of great biodiversity and productivity. It's nursery grounds for fish, shellfish, benthic animals like worms, and waterfowl enjoy it as well. It's a buffer system for our coastal shorelines in case of storms. It serves as a very sensitive indicator as well. So when water quality becomes degraded, you will be able to see it first in the loss of eelgrass. So because of its importance and sensitivity, it's a very important indicator to determine where we're at
So
health-wise.
are the coastal challenges you are researching and that you're encountering, are they man-made or are they somehow climate-induced but man is not responsible?
I would say in my experience, most of the degradation is man-made. The ecological impacts that humans have had on the water quality has made a negative impact, and I think it could have some climate change influence, but ultimately it's the man-made pollution that is driving the loss of eelgrass.
It's pollution that we generate. Well, so let me just ask, as someone who does not want to be up close and personal with either eels or probably eelgrass, but what can the average citizen do to protect this fragile part of our ecosystem along the coastline?
Well, I think first and foremost is to give yourself the knowledge, go and learn about water quality and the nitrogen cycle, because that is the root of it all. When you add too much nitrogen to these estuarine systems, you will then see an increase of productivity of the plankton that covers the surface, limits the light to the bottom. When light's limited on the bottom, the eelgrass gets stressed and may die. But also that plankton on the surface will die, sink to the bottom. Bacteria will take up the oxygen by breaking it down. If there's no oxygen on the bottom, the fish will leave, and any animals that can leave will. If not, they die. So knowing the basic chemistry on how a estuary works and its interconnectedness, then you can go and say, well, what are the sources of nitrogen? One of the biggest sources of nitrogen in our community is probably septic systems.
Okay, septic systems.
Yes. Pollution can occur when too much nitrogen gets into the groundwater and then goes into our estuaries. But there's also different solutions that we could do, like cutting down on fertilizer use.
That was my next question. I mean, fertilizer, lawns that take fertilizer, fields that where there's a lot of runoff. So those are all things that if you work or live in a coastal area, you need to be highly conscious of, right?
Yes, I would think so.
Yeah.
It is a influence to the estuary. So you could try to limit your fertilizer use, as well as just educating yourself on the water quality and helping out in volunteer programs like we have, going out, and if you see it for yourself, I think it will make you more aware and make you care more.
Well, that's really good work and really important work, especially for a part of the Commonwealth that depends so much on the health of our coastal ecosystems. So that's really, like so much that happens at SMAST and other research units of the university. That's really important for our community. So thanks for your work. That's terrific.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with some excellent advice about how new students can adjust to college life. But first, be sure to mark your calendars for these upcoming UMass Dartmouth events that are open to the public. Welcome back. This month, a lot of parents dropped their sons and daughters off at college campuses. For a first-year college student, there can be anxiety, excitement, and confusion as they try to adjust to living away from home, getting to know new people, making choices about academic and social activities. So today we're going to hear the advice from 3 students who went through this process not that long ago and are now helping others through it at UMass Dartmouth. But first, let's hear what kind of advice parents gave their own kids when they dropped them off at UMass Dartmouth on September 4th.
Well, it's Sunday morning, and we're opening for the new students at UMass Dartmouth, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful day in terms of weather, in terms of people's attitudes. Everybody's happy. The weather helps a lot when things like that happen, and as you look around, we have all these people dressed in yellow. We have tremendous numbers of student athletes and residential students who are upper class students who are helping the new families move in. They kind of swarm when they get here and from their car, and they put all their belongings in these bins, and they help them bring it right in. So it just makes the check-in process so much easier, and the smiles on the faces definitely are telling.
We are having a fantastic day on campus, welcoming new students and a handful of transfer students to campus today as well. About 1,100 new students will move in today in the first year halls, and approximately 100 transfer students in some of our upper class will join us.
Hi, my name is Diane. I'm dropping off my son Jason as a freshman here as a finance major, and my advice to him is to enjoy himself, act respectfully, and use this as an opportunity to become whoever he wants to become.
Hi, my name is Joe Pendavis. I'm dropping off my stepson, Marquise Jones, who is majoring in computer science. My last piece of advice is study hard, keep your head in the books, get good grades.
Hi, my name is Cindy. I'm dropping off my son John, and my advice to him is to study really hard.
My name is Greg Clark. I'm from Burlington, Massachusetts. My son Jason is entering as a freshman this year. And the last piece of advice I gave him was to just be active in the school, find clubs, find organizations that are interest to him, and make friends.
One piece of advice I would give for all of our incoming students this year is make sure that you get involved. Open your door and meet some people, and make sure that you make this environment the way that it's going to be for you. So looking forward to having you a part of our community.
Well, that was the advice parents were giving their sons and daughters at UMass Dartmouth recently when they dropped them off. And you can imagine how humiliated their sons and daughters were to even have their parents there in any way, much less giving them advice. But now let's hear the perspectives of actual students who haven't been that long away from this experience themselves. They were making that giant leap from high school to college. So here we are now with these three students who are all resident advisors in the dorms, and they're helping new students adjust to college. So joining us today, we have three distinguished guests, students and residence hall assistants from UMass Dartmouth. Samira Dolan, a junior engineering student. Sherry Flanders, a junior marketing student. And Jack Tiernan, who recently earned his management degree and is now pursuing his MBA at UMass Dartmouth. Jack, Samira, and Sherry are the kind of students who want to get the most out of their education. Samira has already interned at the Naval Underwater Warfare Center in Newport and at Johnson & Johnson. Jack was one of the students who helped open a student-run juice bar on campus. And Sherry is already investigating future employers. Let's start with Jack. So, Jack, what's the most important thing for new students to know when they set foot on a college campus? What advice do you give?
My first piece of advice would definitely be to step out of your comfort zone. It's a whole new world out there in the college experience, and I think UMass Dartmouth has a great opportunity with clubs on campus involvement, like that we've done ourselves, to get involved and to be able to go out and make new friends. The majority of my friends are from these student groups that I've made, good connections with. And I'm excited to say that I'm still friends with the majority of them that I've made so far. And it's really important to be able to get out there and put yourself out there.
Making friends.
Making friends.
Having experiences, trying new things, those are all key to a successful adjustment.
Absolutely.
How about going to class? Is that important?
That's pretty vital.
Okay, that's vital. I want everybody to understand that. If there are any college students out there watching this, going to class.
Need to know. Can confirm.
Okay, well, Jack, you're the veteran, but let's turn to Sherry. And Sherry, what kind of challenges did you face when you made the adjustment to college?
Well, I come from Bridgeport, Connecticut, so I'm an out-of-state student. No one from my high school goes to UMass Dartmouth, so it was completely starting over for me. It was a whole different ball game. Challenges I faced were definitely like stepping out of my comfort zone, making friends, like making connections with people. A lot of the people that came to school there had already known people from like high school. So it was kind of up to me to like, if I really wanted to enjoy my experience here, I had to take the initiative to like put myself out there and give myself the opportunity to have these experiences. Like I joined orientation crew, like I'm an RA, like things that push me out that I wouldn't normally have done.
So the big challenge for you was, again, finding your place in the campus, fitting in. Was it a scary time for you?
It was definitely nerve-wracking in the beginning. I was like, oh my gosh, no one's gonna talk to me, I'm not gonna have any friends. But people are so inviting, especially the first few weeks when people are moving in, like your freshman year, everyone's nervous and people forget that. Like the same way you're nervous, somebody else is too. And that's the best time to like really start to like meet people and put yourself out there.
Did you call home and say, I can't do this?
I called my mom and I was like, Mom, this is so cool. She was like, you don't want to come home yet? And I was like, not yet. Like, I'm enjoying it.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That's great. Samira, they've been talking, Jack and Sherry have been talking about getting involved in as many things as possible, but what about time management? Did you find that a challenge, and what advice would you give to students about how to make the most of your time but not get so overcommitted that you end up completely out of control?
Right. Like you said, I'm an engineering student, but I'm also involved in a ton of activities on campus, and I can tell you that time management is definitely difficult. Especially coming in as a first-year student, you see all these cool activities happening on campus, and you want to do them all, but then you forget what you're really at college for, and that's for your education. And so some tools that I use, that I used to combat time management were a planner and maybe even an Excel worksheet. So this lets you mark out your class time, your study time, your gym time, but most importantly, your free time, because I think a lot of parents tell their children, college only happens once. Take advantage of it, have fun, like leave your room, like go out and explore. And I think Oprah Winfrey really says it great when she says, it's important for you to find your spark so that you in your own way can illuminate the world. And I think UMass Dartmouth is a perfect place for this. I think like Cherie and Jack have found that it gives you a ton of opportunities to find yourself, but also your passion. So I think UMass Dartmouth is great for that.
So get out there. That's what you're all saying. Go to class. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Did you agree
Education,
with
that?
Yes. And I'd like to add one other thing, because this is something that every college student I've known, and I've known a lot of college students, sometimes have trouble with, and that is you're still going to need to sleep.
Yeah. Yes, and sleeping time, you have to mark in there too.
You need to put sleeping time in there, because you might stay up. It might be so much fun. You're having so much fun, so much interesting conversation, so much homework that you stay up, and then the next morning you can't get out of bed and get to class. So that's not a good plan. That's not a good time management strategy, is it? I'd like to end, because I've sent 2 kids off to college. They both graduated, I'm thrilled to say. But I've talked to a lot of parents of freshmen over the years. So this is advice for parents. Parents, it is highly likely that your son or daughter, during the first few weeks of college, the first semester, maybe the first year, is going to call you and tell you that everything is horrible, I had this happen with one of my own sons. I'm going to drop out. I can't stand this place. The food is inedible. My roommate is crazy. And they will drive you crazy with this. They will tell you that life as they know it is simply not worth living at this university. And you, parents, you will be deeply upset. And you will be in shock. But here's my advice to you. As soon as your child has had that conversation, they feel terrific. They're going out for pizza with their friends. You're the one who's left with that burden. So my advice to you is don't take it too seriously. Follow up in a few days, see how things are going, but you can order a pizza for yourself because that's probably what your kids are doing. Well, thank you for watching this inaugural edition of UMass Dartmouth Magazine. Be sure to look for our next chapter in October, and don't forget to mark your calendars for these upcoming UMass Dartmouth events that are open to the public. Thanks.